There was going to be a session by Sachin, but he's busy making some arrangements. So I'll do my session now. I'm Anand. I was scheduled for the end of the day. I'm going to talk about Scrum and Kanban. So if it's okay with you guys, we will just swap. Sachin will do in my time slot. And this is the session before lunch, so I'll try to keep it short. Just give me a second. Okay. Most of what I'm going to talk about is from a mini book. It's a short 30-page read called the Scrum and Kanban, making the most of both. The link is here. We'll also share the presentation. It's a very short. It's a very short book, and although I'm going to talk mostly about Kanban here and the differences between Scrum and Kanban, there is one-page introduction of Scrum in that book that I really like. It's 100 words, 120 words or something, and the whole of Scrum is defined in 100 words. It's really amazing. Just 3 pictures and 100 words. So, so look at that book. And what I will also talk about is what are our experiences transitioning from Scrum to Kanban and why we did it, and what are the Scrum practices that we still follow. So it's not that you have to choose one or the other. You can take best practices from both, and whatever meets your requirement, you can do that. So some of the things I'll talk is directly from the books, and some of the things that we made slight modifications from our process. Okay, so but what was the initial purpose? We are doing Scrum since last 5 years. All our teams are Scrum teams, and everything was going well. Everything looked like it was going well. But my team, the team which I work with, is only doing maintenance. So we are not taking any new features. We are just solving bugs, and that's the mandate we have been given. But since all the teams are doing Scrum, we also have to do Scrum. So we try to fit our backlog in that manner. So we told our product owner, okay, all the bugs that you know of, just arrange them in priority, and we will tell you, okay, this sprint, and all our sprints are 2 weeks. So we will tell you in the next 2 weeks, top 5, top 10 bugs will be solved. Okay, so it looks like a logical thing to do, but if you work with maintenance and production issues, you know there are going to be showstoppers. There will be time when customer will call you and say, this is an urgent issue, stop everything that you're doing, and you have to solve this now. And if I follow really the Scrum practices or the rules, then I have to cancel my sprint because the goals of the sprint change. So here is a new bug to work on. What happens to the bugs that are already committed? We also decided, okay, why not try 1 week sprint? Maybe if you reduce the duration. But can you predict that in my next 1 week there won't be any showstoppers? No. You can't. We tried 1 day sprint, and even those failed because same reason. I can say, okay, don't disturb me today. Today whole day my team is doing these 3 bugs. But still, there will be showstoppers, and you have to cancel your sprint and work on that. So there was some problem. We knew that it's not really working out as it should, and we started looking for what are the other options. Okay, so this is just a summary of what I just said. That maintenance tasks can pop up anytime. Releases are ad hoc. This is a really cool one because you can't just solve the bug. You also have to release it. And sometimes the release itself can take you half a day, or sometimes a whole night, because you take backup, release, oh, it did not work, let's release again, and so on. And if you have a 1 day sprint, then you have 1 day sprint to fix the bug and 1 day sprint to release the bug. So estimation and planning is difficult. We told our product owner, just prioritize your bugs, and we will give you a commitment at the beginning of sprint. How do you do that? How can you estimate bugs? Unless you go and look at the code, then you know how much it will cost me to fix. But just by looking at the description and the screenshots, you can get all kinds of details from the user still you can't estimate bugs. You don't know where else it will impact. So many things, and most of the times isn't much details. So the bug description is, there is an exception on this page, there is an error, user is getting an error. Then you really have to ask more questions, try to reproduce it, and then you know how much work it is. So again, we still thought, okay, why not use story points and let's give a rough estimate. But those were like really rough estimates. Sometimes we said 5 story points and it turned out to be 1 line of code change, and sometimes we said 1 story point and it took us whole week to fix. So it's difficult to estimate bugs basically. Okay, so then we learned about Kanban, and I will just quickly, I will not explain it in detail, but it's all, there is not much to explain. So Kanban is simply having a board like this with your workflow steps. So for bugs it's easy because the first step is always that customer reported a bug or you found out about a bug, then you start working on it, you test it, and you release it. That's the most important thing here, because in normal Scrum you don't really have to release within the sprint. You don't even have to release at the end of the sprint. If you are doing it really well, that's really good, but you don't have to. You can say, okay, I will release every 2 sprints. That's our normal schedule with our customer. But for bugs, you have to release them immediately, as soon as possible, because production systems are affected. Okay, so that model really fits well. This is the Kanban model, and it really fit well with what we wanted to do. So in a nutshell, it's just this. There are only 3 rules in Kanban. First one is visualize the workflow. Just put it in sticky notes or Excel sheets. We use Excel sheet because it's a distributed team, but 6 sticky notes works. Okay, and I will come to the reason why you have to put it in a visual form, so that you can look at the second point, that is limiting work in progress. It's the most important rule of Kanban is to limit work in progress. I can't have 10 bugs in progress and then at the end of week release 5 of them and next week release the rest 5. That will not do. You have to limit the work in progress so that everyone is trying to fix the most important bug as soon as possible. And you release that to production so that the customer is not affected. Or at least those customers who are facing that bug can continue working. And if it's visual, then you can only see it. So notice these numbers here, those numbers are my limits. So I am saying here, I cannot have more than 3 bugs in development. At any time, if you have a new showstopper, then you have to decide which of these is lesser important than the new one that you got. I have to put it back and then take a new one. Or I have to wait for one of these to go forward to testing. So, and why do we do that? If you have those limits, then it's easy for the team to focus. Otherwise you have 10 people each working on their own defects, and then it will be same. So at the end of the week you have 10 things to release, but the whole week the customers have to suffer with those bugs. Okay? And finally measure the lead time. I told you there are no rules, there are very less rules, it's coming 3 rules. But how do you know you're doing well, or how do you know you're improving? What is the goal you are trying to achieve? If you are just coming every day and solving bugs, how do you know that you're doing better today than 6 months back? So you need some kind of measurement, and there is only one: measure the lead time, or it's also called turnaround time. Just how much time does things sit here? How much time does it take from here to here? Just record them. You don't have to set any commitments or goals. Just record them. It will give you some insight as to what is happening. If items are sitting here for too long, then you know you need a bigger team, because things are not moving fast enough in this part of the workflow. This keeps piling up. There is a case for you to make to your product owner, give me more resources because this is growing and I don't have enough resources here. if things are taking a longer time here, you need another QA, you need another tester because this is blocking the flow.
But then that's always tied to complexity, right? You cannot consistently expect your team to do well sprint on sprint just by reducing the lead time every sprint you go forward.
Of course, that's why I say don't say that every time I have to show an improvement in lead time or every time I have to show improvement in turnaround time. It's not like the velocity in Scrum.
Right, so nature of defects is always with respect to complexity.
Yes.
Then how do you measure quality in your team?
The quality is of course that the bugs don't come back. That is of course the quality.
Yeah.
You have to fix the bugs correctly. Since you are the maintenance team, your job is to fix them correctly and make sure it doesn't introduce new bugs.
But then how are you improving? How do you measure that?
Yeah, see this, you have to record this only to know what are the pain points. So you can't use this as saying, okay, 6 months down the line my turnaround time will be half. You cannot predict that.
You can size it into different categories. Like say this is of size X, this is of size L, and lead time for L is so much, lead time for X is so much.
So you're categorizing your defects into different domains.
Yes.
The other way is in a particular area of the code, there is too many defects.
Okay.
So then over a period of time you track that and see, okay, ultimately it should
So
reduce.
those area defects are taking lesser time eventually.
Or there was no tests. You have added so many tests.
Right.
So you have built a safety net. Stuff like that.
You can use lot of ways to show improvements, but for your main process, I would suggest less is best. The whole reason why we could not do Scrum well was because there was too much that was expected of us to do. You had to give story points estimate, you had to make team commitments, you had to make tasks, burn down, sprint demo, and finally release. And that was too much for this kind of work that we were doing. And we say this is the most important measure just because it gives you an idea where, if I want to solve bugs faster, which is the place I should look at. It's only a measure of that. Okay, so don't worry about, last time your turnaround time was 2 days and now it is 10 days. It is good because you are measuring it and you can tell your product owner, see, this is 10 days because of this. It may not solve the problem. I mean, you may not get another team or the bugs may not reduce, but it's good to know if someone asks, how can we improve you? How can you improve your output? We know, okay, this is our bottleneck and this is how.
Also, just to relate it to what Anil said, someone said talked about stop the lane concept. Right? When you cross your work limit, it's advisable for team members to swarm in and ensure that you just remove the bottleneck and then let the flow happen. That automatically reduces the lead.
Right.
Yeah. I think I did not emphasize this enough. This is a rule you cannot break. So these numbers, there is no way you should exceed these numbers. Okay, so if you set a limit for yourself that not more than 3 items will be in development, then you cannot break that rule. But what happens if your product owner is trying to force you?
But then what is your team size here when you're saying
My team is a size of 7.
Okay.
So, and this is the limit we have, which means only 3 developers can be working, and we work in pairs, which also forces us to do that. And a lot of times there are things piled up here. See, there is only 2, which automatically means my development is faster and my testing will become slow. That could create a bottleneck, and that forces the team to work together. So I'm going to sit with the tester and help him move some item ahead. So whenever there is a block in the workflow, the whole team has to respond to clear that block. Otherwise, you can't take up anything new. And there is one guy sitting idle doing nothing. Then that is why it is important to set those rules and follow those limits, because it forces you to fix those issues.
How do you measure that issues are like post-production? So once it is done and what you're saying is right, that the quality can be measured, that the done should not be coming back. But a lot of times the cases are, it is more of a dependency. That, if one team does it, there is another team which probably work on the same logic and that creates a bug and again the entire cycle starts. So How do you measure that post-production issue?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I can show you an Excel sheet we have. We measure something called as sprint defects that we created within the sprint. So if I made a new feature and there is a defect in that, those are my sprint defects. But a lot of time defects come back to you after 2 months or 3 months because someone finds out. And those are my post-sprint defects. So every time a defect comes in, we try to find out which user story is this defect related to. It could be related to another bug that we fixed, but we make a record of it. So for every bug that we have, there is also a link or a number to the user story with which it was introduced. And we track that also. And again, we have 100 points for high defects and 10 points for minor defects and so on. And that is always maintained. So at any point, we can see whether the team is introducing more post-sprint defects or are they reducing. But it takes some time. For every defect, we have to think about it and try. Sometimes we have to go back 6 months back in the history, but it's worth it.
How do you derive those limits?
How do we derive?
How do you derive those limits?
Those limits? Yeah, it's a very good question. There is no rule. You start with something. See if it's blocking your workflow. Let's say most of the time my developers are free. Even if they are working in pairs, still I can see that one person is free. You can try to increase this as 4. See if you can still manage with 2 here.
So I can frequently change it over?
Not frequently. You have to decide on a limit and see if you keep breaking those limits. And is there, if I change those limits, can I get better results? Because don't change the limit just because we are reaching those limits. The point of limits is to make us work better. So if you think, if you get a bigger team, for example, then you can change those limits.
The tools are like slim defects.
Yeah, so this is just
this we can't really help to fight. Say for example, in a day, it's like shoot it up to 10. Then we can't.
Yeah. It's a very good question. So what here, we also have one more list which is bugs. And that's a huge list with 200, 500 items. And what we tell the product owner that, well, we can't look at all those 200 bugs. We don't have the time. At any point of time, you have to make sure the top 5 bugs are visible to us.
Here's where you categorize.
And these are in order. So we pick the top one when the space is on. Okay, so these are the different frameworks. We have Scrum here, and you can see Kanban has only 3 rules. It's a very small, don't worry about this. Just look at the size. So there are only 3 rules. Scrum has some more rules, and XP has some more rules, and so on. But what I wanted to highlight here is that Kanban is very, very close to no rules. So, which is so
Unified master.
unified. Yeah, I didn't even bother to look that up. So, okay, but why I want to highlight this is because there are only 3 rules, they are really important. You cannot break any of those rules. You have to make sure you remember them and follow them. Okay? Let's quickly go through the differences. I am going to talk about differences because most of us know Scrum, and if we talk about these differences, maybe we get ideas from Scrum that we can still use in Kanban. Okay? So those 3 rules are the minimum set of rules. You can of course always have your own extra rules or extra practices. Okay? So Scrum prescribes roles, Kanban doesn't. Okay, so there is no product owner or Scrum master or anything. Kanban only says make sure your work in progress is less, make sure there is a visual representation and measure. But that doesn't mean you cannot have roles. We have a role of product owner, we have a role of Scrum master, and we still use those roles in the way Scrum defines it. So you can still do that.
But the common thing is both the teams have cross-functional teams.
Yeah, it's one of my differences. Again, Scrum emphasizes to have a cross-functional team, but Kanban doesn't say anything about teams. So it is good if you have a cross-functional team, but also, let's say ops. I have to work really close with ops because my job is not complete until the bug goes to production, until the fix goes to production. So it is possible that ops is a completely different team and they will do their work and I am a completely different team. Still, we both can share the same Kanban board. So they are going to do this, but they are on my board. If there is a bottleneck here, then I can't give them more fixes. Then I have to help them release that if they are facing issue with the release. But one Kanban board and more than one team is possible. Okay, if let's say you still have some old-fashioned companies where there is a whole department which does testing and they are not part of your team, you can still share the same Kanban board with them. Scrum prescribes time box iterations. This is the most prominent difference that we feel while working with, since we worked with Scrum before. There are no sprints in Kanban because the work is delivered continuously. So you can see here, things are going to production continuously. There are no sprints, there are no commitments made at the beginning of sprint. It is always ongoing. So that is something which took us time to explain to product owner and to all the stakeholders, that don't expect a fancy demo at the end of the sprint. There is no sprint. We are going to show you results continuously and you will see the number of bugs go down. Scrum prescribes cross-functional teams, I mentioned before. Kanban doesn't, so it's up to you. We are still continuing with the same Scrum team that we had before, so it is a cross-functional team. But we also have a separate ops, which the customer, it's a customer's team and we don't have access to those servers, which is totally fine. So we have to work closely with ops, and this step is where they come in. And they also have the same Scrum board, Kanban board in front of them as we do, and we help them whenever there are issues, lot of things pending release, then we help them make it faster.
This will applicable only for maintenance projects?
Yes, so what I am talking about now is only about maintenance. Okay. Scrum resists change within sprint. This is one of the problems we discussed, that you cannot have showstoppers. Then you have to cancel your sprint and start a new one. But here, we are basically embracing that change. That okay, you can have a showstopper as long as everything is within limits. It's okay. So if it's a new showstopper, just put it here, and as soon as space is available here, we'll pick it up. But if it's really a showstopper and I can't wait, that is also okay. Pick one from here which is not that important. We'll push it back and we'll start working on the showstopper. So the wait time is less for the item to be picked, but that was the whole problem that we were trying to solve. Scrum board is reset between sprints. So your burn down goes to 0, you start afresh. Your Scrum board, you clear and start a new sprint. But the Kanban board stays. There are no sprints. It's a continuous board. Just items are going out of here, and what you do with these things is up to you. But these stay here. It's a running board. So things come in and things go. There is no reset. It's a continuous board. Scrum backlog items must fit in a sprint. Right? I hope all of you are following that rule. You can't have a backlog item that spans more than a sprint. Okay? But again, in Kanban that doesn't apply. I can have one bug here which takes 7 days to go through the flow, but I can have 10 here which are going out every 2 hours. That is okay, as long as you have all the limits, as long as you live in the limits. Scrum prescribes estimation and velocity. We saw those terms. We don't use estimations right now for this because I mentioned before, for bugs it is, you can write estimate but it's useless and you will save a lot of time just start solving the bug. Maybe you can fix it faster than the time it takes to estimate. Okay. So we have stopped doing estimates for bugs. We just tell the product owner, make sure this list is there always. As soon as the space is available, we start working on it. We will make sure it goes to production as soon as possible. But I know that even customers will say, how do I know what is your velocity, or how do I know, you're improving, or same questions that you ask. But you don't. That's why I told them, I have only one metric for you, and this is the metric. You look at this number and tell us where you want to improve. You want us to improve our turnaround time? Very good idea. And you can see this part of workflow is the bottleneck, and this is how we can solve it. And if we record the bugs, we can also say the number of bugs are reduced.
Like Scrum Master, do you have some person?
Yes, we still have a Scrum Master. We still have a Scrum Master, and the role remains the same. We still do daily stand-ups. I will come to at the end what Scrum things we still follow. And finally, Scrum prescribes meetings and charts. So we only have one board, no burn-down chart, no scheduled meetings. There is no grooming meeting. We start working on this bug as soon as there is space available. There are some Scrum meetings we follow, but I will come to that. But there are no meetings such as defined in Kanban. Okay, now what are the similar things still? They are still both agile methodologies. They are still lean, but by the word lean I mean less is better. So as less rules you have, it's better. If you really need, then you can add more rules. Same with roles. So we only have a Scrum Master and Product Owner roles. If you need, sometimes you also have a delivery manager or a project manager. You don't need those. But if you really have a huge team, 7 teams working, and you really need someone to coordinate, you call in a coordinator. It's up to you. But less is better. Both of them try to limit work in progress. In Scrum, it is per sprint. Try to limit the work in progress for the duration of the sprint. And in Kanban, it is for the stage of the workflow. So for each stage of the workflow, we will set limits. Both use transparency to drive process improvement. We have a Scrum board so that people can see how the sprint is going. We have the burn down, and we have this Kanban board so people can see what is going on at the moment. Okay, and same thing. If you see things piling up here, then you know some action has to be taken. Both don't provide all the answers. So there are problems also with Scrum. There are sometimes it doesn't work, like we found out. Same thing with Kanban. It's not a silver bullet. So both give you a framework, but you have to learn yourself how to make it better, how it makes right changes for your situations. Okay. So those are the things that I want to talk about. I will quickly show our Kanban board. I told you we use Excel because we have a distributed team. It's an Office 365 document, so anyone can change and see. And it looks slightly different than this. This is very easy. But here we've also wanted these numbers. This is the numbers I am telling about. This is our turnaround time. And we are tracking 2 numbers. Both are turnaround times. But how much time does it take for the team, once they pick a story, once they pick a bug, to start developing it, fixing it, and making the package. So these 3 we are measuring. Here we are also measuring overall time. How much time since the product owner told us, this is my top 5 item. So he puts in an item there. How much time from there till it is released? And obviously this will be a huge number because we won't pick the items immediately. The 5th item below, for example, will be picked up very late. But still, same thing with Ops. Ops is not going to release. We don't have daily releases. I don't think anyone has daily releases. But we have a weekly release. Sometimes we have a batch release. Then we try to put 3 or 4 items together.
Okay. So what is the WIP limit 3 on the 4th column?
this is three things. So 3 items can be here. Okay, so this is test and automation.
So what it shows only
The green, you can't see the colors. The green ones are done, and the blue ones are in progress. Okay, so all the green ones are done, and the date here. Right now we are not tracking time. We want to do that in future, but right now just dates.
So the 3 means 3 blue ones can be there.
3 blue ones can be there here, exactly. 3 things can be here in blue, and everything green is already done. And the date is on the date where it entered the stage. Okay, I can share this Excel with you. I have to just remove the story with the actual bug descriptions, but I will send it to you. Okay, so these are just entry dates. The name just I know who's working on what. And in the end, it's just subtraction of this date and this date.
But one thing there, bugs can be of different complexities, right?
Yes.
So they can take different times to
Yeah, of course.
But if you do not consider that factor, the volume of the effort required,
Yeah.
then the cumulative limits can be this number, right?
See, yeah, that is the whole point. So this is my limit is 3. So it is possible that one item stays here for a whole week, but other items are going out faster. It is possible. But that's the nature of bugs. You can't do anything about that. Some bugs will take more time.
Estimates complexity of the bug.
No, we don't estimate anything in the beginning. We just put the item from here to here and start working.
Then if there is width limit is exceeded, you always need to move people to close at least 1 or 2 so that the width limit comes back.
No, width limit can never exceed.
No, what I'm saying is the items in the particular column.
Yeah, so if you hit a limit, you can never exceed a limit. If you hit a limit, then you have everyone has to come together.
Everyone comes. If it stays stop.
I have a confusion about keeping the green one and blue one. So when you say the width limit is 3, that means you can't have more than 3 items even if it is done state. Because Kanban is about pulling. So if the next stage is not pulling it, you can't accommodate that. So otherwise you can keep on increasing and then...
Yeah. So see, if I have 2 blues here, if I have 3 blues here, this one you cannot be green. This one cannot move forward. This will have to stay.
No, the confusion there is you are saying width limit 3 and that column should contain only 3 blues.
Okay, so let's
You have to remove everything.
consider the green ones as the invisible white ones.
Ideally, once they learn green, they should.
Yes.
not yet.
So I think
But here,
Yeah, I only have them here so that I know the dates and I can make some calculations. But assume that I change the color to white.
you can maintain the dates in the background data.
Yeah.
Assume that it's a white and
Just
not
for the sake of maintaining the date, is it?
So when we look at this, we only focus on the blue boxes to see. Those are our sticky notes.
We have any bug integrate from the to-do list to development task, and then we notice like we need more information.
Yeah.
Then we have to move it backwards to to-do list or to the previous to that on to this backlog item.
Yeah, you move it back to to-do list.
To-do or back to
You move it back to to-do list. Your product owner is going to decide, is it still fitting that top 5? If it's still in your top 5, then you pick it back again immediately. If by that time some other showstopper is more important, then you do that.
I have a question. Given divide these 3 items, suppose it says for the priority set by the PO. Now you are saying that one of the items is too huge and it's pretty complex. So you still have the flow where other 2 are moving in, but that item is pretty blocked.
Yeah.
It's taking long time, but still you have that flow going.
Yeah.
So you are pushing low priority items, but though that high priority item is still hit.
Yeah, so very good question. That is a very good question. So if there is a high priority item, you also are going to work in that order. High priority items go into the workflow first, and you work on them first. So if it is just there and no one is working on it, then of course, see, we look at this board every day during stand-up. We do the stand-up in front of this. We still do stand-ups. And if every day I keep seeing this person's name here and it's blue and every day he says, I'm working on it or I have this blocker, It's very transparent, and your product owner is also there, and he can help you resolve those impediments.
So how do you assign the developers? One per developer?
No, we work in pairs, so sometimes it's 2 developers, or sometimes it is 1 tester and 1 developer, so depending on the nature of bug or who is available.
Supposing if you come to know that the particular SD work, you will be
Yeah, we also do 4, then 2 pairs. We also do that. So if there is a high, especially for showstoppers, where we have to fix it as soon as possible. Then there are 2 pairs, one working on developing it and the other one already figuring out how to test it and deploy it. Okay, this is my last slide. Some practices that we still use. I just mentioned stand-ups. We just do stand-ups in front of the board and we just discuss the board. You can still do stand-up in the regular 3 questions way, or you can also just look at the board and say, I'm here, and this is what is blocking. Okay, it's up to you. We still do review and demo. So we have a set time where at the end of the sprint, I am one of the maintenance team, but I also have 2 teams working for the same customer who are feature teams. They are making new functionality and they do the normal scrum. And they do have a sprint review or a sprint demo at the end of the sprint. And we also tag along in the same slot and we also give a demo. We just show them screenshots of bugs before and after. Okay, just so that those who are not working closely with us, the consultants and people working with customers know which bugs are already solved. So if they get a call from customer, they can just say, okay, it's solved.
How do you share information among the feature team and the maintenance team?
We work very closely together. So because a lot of times the bugs that we are working on may be introduced by a feature team 6 months back. So we still work very, very closely together.
So you work reactively or proactively? You work with them when they create the feature itself, like say you attend the planning or grooming or something like that, or you work with them only when you see a bug?
We do both. So all the groomings are attended by all representatives from all the teams, regardless of whether it directly relates to what they are doing right now, because we are all working on one product, so everyone has to know what is going on. And for bugs, it is reactive. So if I see that this is a bug with a feature and I know some guy worked on it, then it's much faster to just call him in instead of you figuring it. And also retrospective, as I mentioned. But retrospective, same thing, we discuss what are the bottlenecks in a workflow and how you can improve. Okay, so that's it from me.
How often does
Same schedule as the other, once in 2 weeks. So all the Scrum, the demo and retrospective are with the normal sprint sequence.
Do you see probably a value having a candidate purely for the resource estimation in the Scrum?
What do you mean by that?
So, I mean, the way that you provide that, each column will have like 3 tickets that person can be handled, but many a time the ticket can get more. And what you rightly said in the first few minutes, that if the demand increases, that means you are asking for more resources to finish it. But that's what I'm asking. Do you see that to use something like Kanban into Scrum purely for the resource needs?
But they work totally different, isn't it? So for Scrum, your deliverable is at the end of the sprint.
Agree.
So if you see
Just
that I'm
maintaining a
delivering
column like that, do you see that the benefit would be there or won't be?
I don't know.
The role of WIP limit is basically to control quality. So in Scrum we have different ways of controlling quality. One you mentioned is by restricting the items per sprint, and then really not committing more than what you can achieve. Right? Similarly, it's a way of pushing back. In fact, I think one of the ladies asked, how do you fix the limit for first to do, right? And it's like, again, there is a need for someone to come and prioritize, and in practical world, it is only possible if you learn to say no, when there is a need to say no, right? But the main point of WIP limit is to control quality, so that we don't do more than what we can do. And in case if you reach bottleneck, then stop the lane and idle around and try to move at least one item to the next, so that the flow starts moving.
I think you're asking, can you use Kanban with limits to convince your product owner to give more resources to your Scrum team?
Somewhere in terms of the estimation that, okay, you are expecting more, because this is the last moment. I think everybody would have faced it. The last moment somebody will, can you accommodate this particular reason, that is where you need to give justification that why we can't. So I think something like that can be a good help if somebody knows that one person can only do this many things.
Yeah,
That's what I was saying. Do you see the value?
You don't need a Kanban board for that, but there is an implicit limit in your sprint. So Kanban, Scrum also has a limit on work in progress, and whatever you committed at the beginning of sprint, that is the limit.
Commit beyond.
Cannot come more than that.
This is just a thought. So I don't say deny your
But we would be happy to know if you can figure out some use for it. So far, I haven't figured it out. Okay, so lunch is ready?
Yeah, lunch is ready and you will have to take this way, right, turn right, take your place, veg first, non-veg second, and 3 rooms are arranged for you, where we work, 1, 2, 3.
We need to arrange some tables here for the Kanban game, so you can have lunch on the other rooms. And the reason why we say this way because the plates are here and food is here. Okay.
Thank you.
How much time?